this whole chapter, chapter 2 of Robbins, we're going to talk about the cellular responses to stress and toxic insults. So there's a couple different ways that cells can react to this, and that's going to be the foundation of this entire chapter, which is then going to be a foundation for a lot of the systemic diseases later. So make sure you get these concepts now. So the overview. So there's a couple different ways cells can respond to stress. So first, if you have it's just a normal cell, it's sitting around in homeostasis, right? And if stress is going to come in, the cells can then adapt to that stress. And this can happen in a lot of different ways. So there's 4 typical ways that this can happen. You can have these 4 main types of adaptation, and we're going to go over all of these individually, but they're hypertrophy, hyperplasia, atrophy, and metaplasia. So those are the 4 typical adaptations. But if there is something that can cause enough stress that the cell would not be able to adapt in any of these ways, and it wouldn't solve whatever situation is going on, there are a couple different things that can happen to the cells, and these are going to be included in this chapter as well. So you can have accumulations of things within the cells, you can have pathologic calcification, and then of course just aging of cells is just natural, so that's a response. Now, if the stress is so bad that it is actually like injurious to the cells, that's when your cell is going to actually undergo real cell injury. And there's pretty much 2 ways that this can go down. So if it's just not so bad of an injury and it's still reversible, then that cell is fine and it can go back to homeostasis. But if it is a more severe injury and it's irreversible, then that cell is going to die. So there's 2 main ways that a cell can undergo cell death. You have necrosis and you have apoptosis. So we're going to go over those individually as well. And we'll go over the different features of reversible cell injury versus irreversible cell injury and how to tell the difference. But then there's this one other way that a cell can die. So if there's a decrease in nutrients to a cell, it can actually eat itself, which is called autophagy. So auto is like automatic or self, and phagy is eating. So it will literally eat itself if it doesn't have enough nutrients. And so that's another way that a cell can die. So these are just the very basic things that this chapter covers. So think of this as like your chapter outline. So we'll go over the 4 adaptations that a cell can undergo in response to stress. If it's an actual injury, we'll go over how to tell reversible versus irreversible injuries, and if it's irreversible, then that cell will die. So we'll go over the 2 main types of cell death. We'll touch on autophagy, and then we'll touch on those kind of other adaptations, so intracellular accumulations and pathologic calcification, and then we'll just touch base on cell aging, but we won't get too into depth with that.